Okay, picture this. You finally reached the final destination, hoping to collect the last batches of the hourglasses that were stolen from you. But upon arrival, you see a long queue to a huge castle surrounded by lava. Within said queue is filled to the brim with all the acquaintances you've met throughout the game, with one of them asking you to go to the castle and investigate the whole purpose of this charade. This works in your favor to get the hourglasses, so you do exactly that, only to be greeted by an old friend of yours. Now, the new ruler has made it her mission to judge every character and their actions, determining if they're good or bad, and if judged as bad, punishing them accordingly, all the while using your hourglasses to do her bidding. From there, an altercation between you and your old friend has been ignited. However, let's stop you right here. With this info dumped laid out, here's a question I want to ask. Being that the individuals who are put to judgment are the same characters you've met and interacted with throughout the game, how would you judge them based on your old friend's metrics? Is everyone considered bad for what they have done? To keep this brief and easier to manage, I'll focus on the characters who had the most focus in each world, which includes the Mafia gang and their boss, the conductor, DJ Grooves, the Snatcher, and Queen Vanessa. We'll also include Mustache Girl and Hat Kid into the mix. Everyone will be judged under the same rules that Mustache Girl has created. Well, not everyone. The rest of the characters that remain are pretty much easier to dissect, as depending on the events happening throughout the game, they are either supportive casts that bounce off from and interact with the main cast, such as the tourists, Cooking Cat, and the nomads. Either they are characters with their own motives who have nothing to do with today's topic, like the badge seller. Either they are side characters who simply react to your decisions as they're pretty much a neutral force towards you, like the goats. Or they're pretty much obstacles and antagonists to attack, like the Crow Detectives, and the Lazy Paul gang. What the? Unsurprisingly, the latter basically cement themselves as the benchmark for this entire topic. Cool? Cool. Let's begin. Starting off easy, we have the Mafia gang. Yes! They are bad people. I don't know what else to say. It's in their name. They are word for word, bar for bar, despicable people who are not only rude to everyone around them except their own members, but we also see a good number of instances of them harming innocent people whenever they can.
Seagull eat fish, but fish belongs to Mafia. We punch Seagull for not respecting Mafia. Seagull say, no punch, I have child. Mafia punch Seagull with child.
See what I mean? Not to mention that the entirety of the game was kickstarted by one of the Mafia members who literally tried to force Hat Kid into paying a tribute only to retaliate when she refused, and we all know where it leads from there. Granted, some of you could argue that if she hadn't parked near the planet where Mafia Town resided, then maybe all of this could have been avoided. However, that argument only works if she knew about them prior, which clearly she didn't. And at the center of all of this is the Mafia boss who, true to his name, runs the Mafia gang and by proxy Mafia Town, and clearly he seems to have enabled their actions and behavior. Ironically, they aren't completely evil. Strange, I know, but when you do pay attention to the Mafia's behavior, suddenly it seems to exist a little bit of nuance in them. Just a little bit. For one, not all the Mafia men are hostile towards you, as in most cases, ignoring these ones, you have to go out of your way to attack them, forcing them to retaliate. In fact, there's a particular one member of the Mafia men who is more cowardly than the rest.
It's slimy space alien! Mafia's a spaceship! Mafia knew all along! Mafia is being invaded by aliens! That mess! This is terrible! Someone turn on all faucets in Mafia Town! Same faucets that control the town volcano! Little Hat Kid, can you save Mafia Town by turning off all faucets? You did it! Small child saved Mafia Town! Now Mafia no longer need to eat lava for breakfast! Amazing! Please, take this as trophy. You are truly the hero of Mafia Town!
Furthermore, as you move on to the next world to explore, the Mafia boss who is now stuck in a jar now opts to help you by giving you a badge meant to look for all kinds of collectibles. Granted, he did it begrudgingly, but I guess it counts as something. Also, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what I understood from the storybook pages, they took over the town not as a malicious attempt, but more out of an escapist mindset to find something new to shake up their repetitive lives of constant work. Who am I kidding? They're still bad people. Next on the list are both the conductor and DJ Grooves, two ambitious directors rivaling each other and shared owners of Deadbird Studios. These characters are interesting to analyze because of how they function game-wise. According to a quick and brief Google research I did, apparently the world and the characters themselves all function on how you and I, the players, interact with it. Within the story's narratives, these two directors are competing against each other for the annual Bird Movie Award, and the winner is only chosen based on who gets the most points accumulated between the two, which itself is judged by our performances on the levels designated to those directors. TLDR, we dictate who wins. In addition, if one of the directors wins the award, then that specific director becomes the boss we have to face towards the end. Fascinating, right? Keep in mind that I only got the ending with the conductor, since my performance in DJ Grooves' levels was terrible. That being said, I'm willing to play devil's advocate since I don't think these two characters are evil at heart. Okay, sure, they're both overly ambitious people who only care about winning, all the while dissing each other for the kinds of movies they each cook up, with the conductor being the worst between the two since he's willing to film movies at the expense of his employees' health and safety just to win an award. But that's the thing, they are both simply overly ambitious people. If one of the directors wins, then they're the ones who have to fight as the final boss. At heart, they will do anything to win, even willing to rig the whole competition to get what they want. Really, the only difference between the two is the conductor in terms of behavior, since he's prone to outbursts. That and the whole engagement of his employees. Another evidence to support my claim is the storybook pages we're able to unlock, which gives more context to how similar their passions and motives are. Plus, they both hold up their bargain to us by giving the hourglasses to us as a thanks for helping them to win. And one thing of note, when fighting the boss, the losing director, whoever it may be, ends up helping you at some point throughout the boss level. Does it absolve them of their deeds? No. They are both wrong for their actions, more so for the conductor, but to completely cast a negative light on them simply for their bad misdeeds is blindsided. Then again, the conductor had it coming. Like, ain't no way we just let the poor mismanagement and safety on the employees slide. Ain't no way.
I was very wrong. Between these two, DJ Grooves is the only redeemable person here. I decided to go back and replay the game, but this time focusing on the DJ Grooves boss battle rather than the conductor boss battle. And yeah, turns out DJ Grooves has been on the losing streak. So when the hourglasses appeared, he saw that as an opportunity to win at least one award. Meanwhile, the conductor has been winning multiple awards, only having 2 losses. That revelation changes a lot for me, because now it just shows to me that even though yes, these two are not both rigging the game to get what they want, one only did it out of desperation to at least win something, the other one just did it just for the sake of keeping his status quo, to be like, oh, I want to be the winner, I'm going to be winning all these awards, I want to be the winner constantly. So with that in mind, I might be oversimplifying this entire info, but long story short, DJ Grooves is the only redeemable person here, or at least the person that I should have said that he's the one who's like the most redeemable. The conductor is not. That's what I wanted to say.
You would think that the Snatcher would be an easy job to judge, especially since he's practically forced us, the players, into signing multiple contracts to do his bidding, all the while refusing to relinquish our souls until the last bout. But just like the conductor and DJ Grooves, it's purely not black and white, since his actions and therefore his behavior are all rooted in his negative experiences and trauma, all related to one person, Queen Vanessa. When playing Act 4, as well as finding out all the storybook pages from that world, we learn about the history between the Snatcher and Queen Vanessa. On first glance, it all seems romantic, but it quickly exposes itself as a tragedy. In a nutshell, their falling out started with a small misunderstanding between the two couples. A small misunderstanding that could have been easy to rectify. Unfortunately, Queen Vanessa did not let her lover, the prince, to explain himself, completely defaulting into accusations of him cheating on her, which led him to be locked away in the basement while the queen herself how you pronounce this word? While the queen herself transforms into a monstrous being who freezes anyone who comes across her path. If you haven't caught on already, Queen Vanessa is wildly not a perfect person and certainly not a perfect princess. It doesn't help that the notes you find in her bedroom of her mansion exposes her melodramatic and obsessive personality. And clearly her actions she took back then definitely impacted the prince, as he has gone from what I'm guessing is a kind-hearted and loving person to who we now know as the Snatcher. Deceitful.
Tell you what though, hang on a minute. You get to live! That's right! Aren't you lucky? Normally I'd eat your soul and toss your body, but you're a lucky one. You won the lottery because I just happen to be missing a brain-dead servant. That's right! The old one got himself killed, his head popped off, and now I need a new towel boy. Wait up, kid. Remember how the old contractor had his head pop off? That wasn't a coincidence. It popped off the moment he stopped being useful to me. And guess who else just became obsolete? That's right. You.
And sadistic.
Done. Please tell me they suffered. You murdered them, right? I bet you strangled them. Good girl.
Ironically, with all of these negative traits, he's still somewhat a kind person at heart, as one of his contracts, which some includes making letters and repairing the water system, literally benefits the residents he looks after. Plus, his interaction with Hat Kid later towards the end of the game makes it clear that his negative personality is just a front to shit himself. So yeah, he's not good, but he's not bad. He's nuanced. Queen Vanessa, however, not so much. While yes, she might fall on the same camp as the Mafia gang, I am very hesitant to put her there, simply because I fail to see her as completely evil, just someone with a lot of issues. Plus, I'm late in playing her DLC, so I'm sure I'll get more context into who she is as a person. And see, throughout this conversation, there's a recurring theme that I hope you all have noticed, and that is nuance. Each major character we spoke of has a level of complexity and nuance in them. Okay, sure, it varies wildly in comparison, but we can't deny that they do exist. Something that Mustache Girl herself didn't take into account or simply refused to do so. And by the way, within the same Judgement, she's not safe either. Mind you, the moment she went on the crusade to expel evil, she decides to steal from Hat Kid, ruining her progress to return home.
Wait, what? This doesn't make any sense. You have all this power, and you're not gonna use it to fight evil? If you're not gonna use them to fight evil, then I will.
I am not saying that her actions make her as bad as dumb. Oh god, no, it isn't. What I am saying is that she shouldn't be quick to judge them all as bad when, just like her, everyone isn't perfect or altruistic. A good example for the latter point is Hat Kid herself. While all she wants is just to regain all her hourglasses to go home, all the while helping and befriending anyone she meets, she does do her fair share of bad deeds. For instance, accidentally spreading these toxic flowers throughout Alpine skyline, contaminating and corrupting the ghost residents and the landscape in the process.
Not to mention her reluctance in sharing her hourglasses with everyone, though within her right, since she needs those hourglasses to go home, and obviously people who wanted to use the hourglasses. Only one of them had a good reason to, the others were just outright just being selfish. Look, it's... yeah.
No one is perfect, and that's all fine and dandy. Actually, I stand corrected. She's the only good person here.